Hello guys, this is your friend. We are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto gets a Doujutsu that lets him charm any woman and build harem, part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Naruto was sitting in his usual spot under the big tree with Hinata and Tenten when he was approached from three sides. To his right was Kiba, to his left Neji, and in front of him was Sakura and Ino. As they got close, he smiled at them. "Would you all like to join us for lunch?" he asked. Yes. All but one said. "Hi, thank you Naruto," Neji said in a formal but polite voice. A slight smile on her face as she got close, moving to Nada. "Hinata-sama, do you need anything before I join you?" Neji said in the same formal but polite tone and nodded to Hinata. Hinata looked up at her cousin and guardian with a warm smile. Neji had been a lot nicer to her since her spar with Naruto, and she knew why. Naruto had done her a huge favor. She'd actually had a long talk with Neji last night. "I'm fine, thank you Neji-nichan, please have a seat," Hinata said happily. Neji nodded and sat next to Hinata. Naruto introduced everyone just to be sure they all knew the other. He could tell Kiba was slightly uncomfortable, mainly because she wasn't charmed like the rest were. Naruto did his best to make Kiba comfortable around everyone, and them her. They were easy and did anything he wanted. Kiba was a little harder, but about 15 minutes later she seemed to be relaxing. "Naruto-kun, are you gonna bring her over to be checked out after academy?" Kiba asked casually, then took a bite of her roast beef sandwich. The other girls looked at Kiba a moment, then Naruto, all confused. Kiba suddenly tensed up at everyone's reaction. She knew she'd screwed up. "They don't know, do they?" she asked, and Naruto shook his head. "I'm sorry Naruto, I thought you told them." She hung her head. "I have a pet. If you'll all come over to my apartment after academy, I'll show her to you, but until then don't mention it," Naruto said. Everyone nodded immediately. Naruto suddenly straightened up and looked across the courtyard. He saw 3 to 4 older girls obviously picking on another girl probably in the same class. He didn't recognize her either. If there was one thing Naruto hated above everything else, it was a bully, as the snarl on his face showed. Everyone turned to see what Naruto was looking at. "Do any of you know who that girl over there is, and why they're picking on her?" Naruto asked. Everyone shook their head but Neji. "I do. Her name is Lita, she's in my grade, a year ahead of the rest of you. They're picking on her because she can't use genjutsu or ninjutsu." "You mean she can't mold chakra?" Naruto asked. "No, she can't. She has huge chakra reserves, not as big as yours Naruto, but she can't mold it, her chakra coils are deformed," Neji said. "They were picking on her because she was different, like he was. This shit ends now. Who wants to help me teach those bitches a lesson?" Naruto asked. When everyone raised her hand, he grinned. "Everyone knows what happened to Ino and Sakura, right? Good, because we're gonna make everyone forget that ever happened. Here's the plan," Naruto said and began quickly telling everyone their part. Ino and Sakura glanced at each other. They were smiling bigger than everyone, and their smiles got bigger as Naruto laid out his plan. It was cruel, heartless and cold-blooded. It made Ino's nipples steel hard. She always thought of herself as being a devious, heartless bitch, but she felt like an amateur, and this was just off the top of his head. She'd hate to see what he could do if he really thought it out. She was glad she dumped Sasuke for Naruto. He not only returned her attention, but he was fun to be around. 2 minutes later Naruto was walking across the courtyard, 2 girls to either side, the rest behind him. Everyone moved out of the way and followed. It was obvious where he was going and he knew they were expecting another show. He couldn't help but notice many of the girls were looking at him like they used to look at Sasuke, who he saw leaning against a tree glaring hatefully at him for being more popular. "You'll get yours soon enough, Tem. I wonder if his mom has big tits," Naruto thought. She ducked another rock the girls had started throwing at her. They thought their nickname for her was funny, and at first she hated it. What kind of name for a beautiful kunoichi was Rock Lita? She'd show them all that you could be a great kunoichi without genjutsu or ninjutsu. Then she saw them coming up behind her 4 bullies, and they were led by the boy she'd heard about. It had to be him. Spiky blonde hair and an orange jumpsuit she thought looked cute on him because he wasn't afraid to stand out. She wasn't sure what he was going to do, or the army of girls with him. Wow, he must be a great ninja. She knew she could beat the girls throwing rocks at her, but that was against the rules. Besides, dodging these rocks was good training. She recognized some of them. The 2 Hyugas would be the biggest threat. She'd seen Neji sparring. Her fellow kunoichi was the best in their class and was undefeated in sparring practice. Then she saw the blonde boy wink and smile at her. He's going to help me. He's a true ninja, Lita thought, then stood tall and caught the almost fist-sized rock the leader of the girls threw at her head, in her right hand as she saw several of the girls with the blonde boy move behind them. She gave them her best bright smile. The sun reflected off her big white teeth as her big eyes sparkled in the sunlight. With a small grunt she crushed the rock in her hand, the tape protecting her palm from the shards. Naruto nodded. The moment he did, Ino and Sakura to his left, Hinata and Tenten to his right, all yanked down the 4 girls' pants and panties, then reached around in front of them and yanked the front of their shirts up and pulled it back over their heads, leaving them fully exposed front and back. They were caught so off guard they didn't even react for several seconds. Then he nodded to a quick peek with their Byakugans. He knew what the girls had hidden under their clothes. It turned out to be a bonus. The leader of the 4 girls had failed to advance to the final grade twice before and was in fact a well-developed 15. Neji remembered she'd had a party last month because she was bragging about how great it was. The real bonus though was her name. It was Rana Uchiha, a cousin of Sasuke. With a big smile, Ino drove her foot straight up between the legs of her girl with everything she had. Once the girl was down, Ino flipped her onto her back with her legs, folded her in half, tucking the girl's bunched pants and panties behind her head, then sat on her upper chest, neck in a reverse schoolgirl pin, facing her fully exposed bald and perky B-cup. Using her big hands and years of carrying heavy books to her best advantage, like Ino did with her kick, Sakura reached around under her girl's arms and clamped a vice-like iron grip on the plump C-cup sitting there, crushing them almost flat. Tenten wasn't physically strong, so she used her own skills. She pulled one of the many kunai she always had on her with her right, reached around the girl's hip and slipped the edge up under her while her left grabbed the lips of her girlhood from behind, pinched hard, pulling down and back to help expose the heart of her girlhood, which her kunai was now threatening to remove. Hinata stepped back to let Neji do her part, which was to use a Hyuga chakra grip on Rana's neck, which basically paralyzed her. She couldn't move unless Neji allowed it. Naruto casually stepped past Neji and Rana on their right, giving Neji a nod as he did, and paused to watch his second favorite Hyuga bitch pull Rana's shirt up and off then drop it. He was impressed. She was an inch shorter than Neji, had a nice body, the highlights of which were a small but thick black bush on her mound, and semi-firm, big nippled tits that were borderline DE cups. "I'll get back to you in a moment, bitch," Naruto said, then turned and walked over to the stunned Lita. In a loose, long-sleeved, green shirt with a thickly padded, in beige, chest, shoulders and upper back, tucked into beige pants, and her hands were wrapped in tape. He could tell she had decent, and very firm, hidden beneath it, but didn't act like he'd noticed. She hid it well. What really stood out about her was her large eyes, thick eyebrows for a girl, short, straight, thick black hair to the top of her neck with a ponytail to her shoulders, which, like the rest of her as best he could tell, was more muscular than most of the boys. "Hi, I'm Naruto, are you okay?" Naruto asked. "I'm fine, but I don't believe that is appropriate behavior," Lita said, slightly embarrassed by the current condition of her classmates, even if they did bully her. "Lita," Naruto said, waited a moment for her to look at him, then gave her the look. "Would you like to help me teach them a lesson? I just hate seeing people treated like dirt because they're different," Naruto said smoothly as he reached up and gently brushed her hair aside. Lita blushed and smiled. She'd never had a boy pay eruption ro her like this before, and he was not only cute, but really popular. Hi, Naruto-kun. Holy shit, is this fun, and she looks like she could help me train. I hate to admit it, but my taijutsu stinks, and if I'm going to be the greatest Hokage ever, and protect all my friends, I have to be the best. Naruto thought, then lead Lita back over to Rana, who was crying softly now. He waved everyone around them in a big circle. You see, can't do. Rana managed to say, then froze when the blonde boy she knew had to be the leader reached up casually and grabbed her big nipples, pinching them really hard. Shut up, bitch. I hate bullies. People like you have abused me as long as I can remember, and you being an Uchiha like Sasuke Tem just makes it worse. The only reason you aren't on agony like your friends is because I don't want the whole Uchiha clan coming after me. I don't like hurting girls, even bitches like you, so we're going to let you go and you're going to stand in the middle of this circle and watch your friends get humiliated, and if you cover yourself or try to stop us, I won't be this nice next time. Naruto said. When she nodded, tears running down her cheeks, he released her, then had Neji release her. Get away from her dead last. Naruto turned and saw an angry Sasuke standing between the frightened crowd. Naruto's girls quickly released their hostages. AMD formed a line between Naruto and Sasuke, all in an aggressive fighting stance. Tenten had 3 kunai in each hand, arms crossed over her chest. Kiba was in her clan's FGHTING stance, Akamaru in front of her growling, teeth bared. Neji and Hinata were in the gentle fist stance, Byakugans blazing. Sakura had her fists up, Ino had her arms extended, hands ready to form her clan's signature jutsu. Finishing a quick talk with KY-chan, Naruto sighed quietly and nodded. This would definitely attract too much attention, and even he didn't want that yet. Taking Rana's hands, he pulled her head lower, looked into her eyes, then whispered in her ear a few moments. Rana stepped back, then looked at Lita. I'm sorry, Lita, I won't pick on you anymore. Come on, girls, get dressed and let's get out of here. I accept your apology, Rana-san. Lita said. Naruto leaned down and picked up Rana's panties. A little trophy, and I hope you learned your lesson. I did, thank you for not hurting me. Rana said, then quickly slipped her pants and shirt back on, then ran to Sasuke, joined a few moments later by the 3 other still very humiliated girls. The crowd cheered briefly, then broke up. It wasn't quite the show they expected, but it was good enough. Naruto led his kunoichi army back to the tree to finish lunch. I hate cold ramen, Naruto thought. 3:21 p.m., the wolf's claw. Don't call me that, just Sukamu is fine, I'm not an old man yet, and you better wipe that smirk off your face, young lady. Sukamu said. Hi, Papa-san, Tenten said, then giggled and ducked a playful slap to the back of her head from her father. I mean, Dad. So, do we have anything special you can make a wakizashi out of for my Naruto-kun? Sukamu's eyebrows raised slightly at the way she referred to him, then furrowed, and with a serious expression leaned on the counter with his left, his right dropped below it, then he looked directly at Naruto. Tenten tensed up, suddenly very nervous inside. She'd made a mistake and she knew it. She wanted to say something, but knew that would be a bigger mistake. Her best option was to see what Naruto did, then back him up, even if she had to tell him they'd had. Anko caught this also. Being who she was, she could read the situation clearly. Naruto, did you do anything with Tenten that I might consider dishonorable? Sukamu asked calmly, a very subtle edge in his voice. Anko heard the subtle sound of a katana being ready to draw, about an inch of blade exposed, she figured, based on the sound. I was here with him every moment. Naruto may be a brat, but he wouldn't dare do or say anything inappropriate to a girl in my presence, would you? Anko said and gave Naruto a hard glare. I'd never do something like that to Tenten. She just gave me a hug when I said I'd order a custom weapon from her, and I kinda said I'd take her out to eat this weekend to thank her for helping me decide what kind of weapon to get. That's all, really. Naruto said with his most sincere voice and expression, hoping he'd buy it. Naruto was ready to use his ability. Any result had to be better than pissing off the best weapons mid in Konoha. Sukamu glanced at Anko. You'll vouch for him, Anko? He asked, and Anko nodded. You're a damn good liar, Naruto Uzumaki, but I know all about you, including what you did with her this morning by the swords. You're even better with the girls than your father was. Good thing Tenten doesn't. Our shop is one of the few places in Konoha with security cameras. I can't wait until Kusha gets home next week to tell her our girl isn't a virgin anymore, and with Minato's son. I wish I could tell you, Naruto, or give them to you, but you aren't strong enough yet. And now that she's a woman, Tenten is ready to learn the family secret. Sukamu thought, then at near shinobi speed drew the katana and swung it down. The edge of the blade stopped an inch from Naruto's face. She likes you a lot. You break her heart or dishonor my daughter, and there's nowhere in Fire Country you'll be safe from me or my wife, understood? Anko tensed up but didn't act because he hadn't actually attacked Naruto. She hadn't felt any intent to kill, so her guard was a little relaxed. Naruto swallowed nervously. I promise, Tenten is my friend, and I'll protect my friends with my life. Sukamu nodded, smiled and put the katana back under the counter. Tenten let out a loud sigh of relief. She'd been holding her breath. I'll hold you to that. Now, I believe I was told that you're going to teach him how to use it and pay for it. Sukamu said, then Anko nodded. Then let's talk. If I'm going to make you a custom weapon, I need to know you better. 4:26 p.m., Anko's private training ground. Okay, Naruto-kun, since you're behind everyone, I'm going to teach you a special shortcut only people like me know, but because you have so much chakra, it'll give you an edge over everyone. I'm going to teach you the shadow clone jutsu. Anko said with a smile. How is it different from a regular clone? They're just illusions, not that it matters, I can't make one right anyway. Naruto said. That's easy. To make a regular clone you have to use a certain amount of chakra. Use too much and it fails or looks wrong, that's your problem. With a shadow clone, the more chakra you use, the more clones you get, but they aren't illusions, they're solid and can even fool civilians and low-level shinobi, even chunin. This is how you do it. Anko said, then explained how to make a shadow clone, and that it divided his chakra, and they were solid until hit hard and not or injured with a weapon. She left out the rest, that was the surprise. 5:54 p.m. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto yelled with total concentration, despite how tired, sweaty and hungry he was. The field around Naruto filled with smoke and popping sounds. When it cleared a moment later, there were 25 Narutos standing there, all identical. I did it! Naruto yelled excitedly. Anko smiled happily and glanced at the watch in her hand, then dropped it back in her coat pocket. Congratulations, you just learned an A- rank jutsu in just under an hour and a half. Now send one over to me and I'll show you what's so special about them that makes this an A- rank jutsu. Naruto shrugged and sent a clone over to her, then watched her say something to him that he couldn't hear. Now dispel it like I showed you. Anko said with a smirk. He didn't get it, but he did what she said and suddenly started laughing hard. Anko casually strolled over to the original Naruto. She knew it was because the others weren't laughing. What's so funny? Anko asked casually. You said I was a one-man harem and didn't need the girls. Naruto said between laughs. How do you know that? I told your clone, not you. Anko asked calmly. Naruto opened his mouth to answer, paused a few moments, then his face lit up with the realization of what happened. I know anything the clone learned when it dispels. That's so cool. If I made 500 I could. Naruto said excitedly. No. Anko said sternly. I don't want you doing that many. There's a downside to this, Naruto-kun. While you do learn everything the clone learned when dispelled, you don't want to take in too much information at once. You could fry your brain, even die. That isn't a good way to die, Naruto. Please trust me on this. Until you get used to it, I don't want you dispelling more than 10 at once, and even then only if they all learn the same thing. This is enough for today. Tomorrow morning I want you to make 20 shadow clones and send them here. I'll be waiting for them. We'll do this the next week, and if you learn as fast as I think you do, by the end of the month you'll not only be a lot stronger, faster and a better fighter, but you'll have much better chakra control. Then I'll start teaching you jutsu. If I'm right, by the end of the year you might be kicking my around this field. I'm going to push you past your limits every day. It'll be harder than anything you've been through, but I know you can do it. Anko said. Naruto just nodded as a huge smile spread across his face. Hard work didn't bother him, especially if it would make him stronger. Then his stomach growled very loudly. Can we get some food? I'm starving. Anko laughed. Sure, I'll even buy, and if anyone asks, we're just friends. Not that I care what anyone thinks, they can all know I'm your bitch, but I know you want your ability kept a secret for now. Oh, I think Sarutobi knows something is going on and that I'm the one who pulled those pranks. If he asks me, do you want me to tell him about your bloodline limit? Anko asked. I guess I should tell someone I trust that isn't charmed, might as well be him, he might even already know I have it. You knew about KY-chan, so he'd know too, he is the Hokage. If he asks then you can tell him, if not, I'll tell him. I owe him that at least. Naruto said. Naruto shuffled across his floor only in boxers, eyes half open, reaching the door he yawned and stretched, then glanced back at his bedroom door to be sure he couldn't see his bed where Anko and Kurenai were still sleeping, and that KY-chan wasn't visible, then opened his door, and became fully awake when he saw an Anbu standing there with a katana strapped to their back, but a second later he smiled when he saw it was a woman with long purple hair. Is something wrong? Hokage-sama requests your presence in his office at once, I'm to escort you. She said calmly. Would you come in? I'll be dressed in a minute. I can't see the old man in my underwear, even I won't do that. Naruto said. She nodded, stepped inside and watched him head to his bedroom. He's a cute kid, and he's a lot nicer than I thought he'd be for someone his age with what's sealed inside him and how he grew up, most people wouldn't have even lived this long. Orange boxers with a frog on the front, he's obviously never been to Hotaru's. She thought. 2 minutes later ===. Okay, I'm ready. If he wanted to see me he didn't need to send an Anbu. I know I get special treatment because the old man likes me and there's some big secret no one will tell me that'd probably explain why most of the village hates me, even before I started pranking everyone, but if you're my new guardian could I at least know your name and see your face, you have to be better looking than the last guy. Naruto said as he walked across the room to the door then smirked while holding in a little laughter. I'm not supposed to remove it in public unless ordered to by a superior, and I was ordered to escort you to Hokage-sama immediately. She said. Naruto sighed, both sad and annoyed. Are you supposed to protect me? Naruto asked. Hi, that's part of my duty. She said. Then that kinda makes me your boss then doesn't it, and we aren't in public, we're in my apartment so no one will see you. Would it be so bad to show me your face and tell me your real name before we go? I promise I won't tell anyone. Naruto said with a big smile. She thought for a moment then knelt down so she was facing him. I've heard that you never break a promise, is that true? She said. You bet it is, I never give up and I never break a promise. Naruto said fiercely. She smiled beneath her mask, she was reading him and knew he wasn't lying. Those are very admirable traits for a ninja to have, especially in someone your age. I'll hold you to your word Naruto Uzumaki. She said seriously, then let out a small sigh before she removed her mask and showed him her beautiful face. My name is Yugao Azuki. Yugao said and gave him a small friendly smile. Naruto whistled. Wow, you are pretty, are you related to Anko Mitarashi? Yugao smirked. She's been asked that before. No, I'm not. I know Anko. How do you know her though? Naruto winced. I kinda bumped into her a few days ago, literally. She dropped some dango in the sewer and She chased you all over Konoha. I heard a rumor about it around Anbu headquarters. So it was you. You're lucky to be alive. Yugao said. Naruto laughed nervously. Tell me about it. Luckily I kinda impressed her. We're sorta friends now, but you can't tell anyone, okay? I won't. Trust me, I know her very well. I kept my part. Now let's go. He won't wait too long, even for you. He was rather insistent I bring you immediately. Yugao said. Okay, but before we go I have a small favor to ask, it'll just take a minute at most. Naruto said. I'll consider it after you tell me. Yugao said. Naruto smiled and gave Yugao the look. Kiss me and become part of my secret harem. Naruto asked casually. Her eyes still sparkling, Yugao smiled happily, then took Naruto's cheeks and kissed him passionately on the lips. As she did, she felt him slip a hand into her pants and panties and expertly rub her lips and thumb her. A shiver of pleasure ran through her as she reluctantly broke the kiss and saw him lick his fingers and smile. I accept, Naruto-kun, and promise I won't tell anyone. Naruto gently brushed her left cheek with his fingertips. Good girl, Yugao-chan. Now let's go see what the old man wants. 7:47 a.m. Hokage Tower. Sarutobi closed the big, bottom drawer of his desk, a subtle but perverted smirk on his face for a moment, then it changed into his normal stoic expression. Send them in, he said into his intercom, and a few moments later the door opened and in walked Naruto, followed by the Anbu he knew was Yugao because he'd selected her specifically for this. You wanted to see me, old man? Naruto asked as calmly as he could, but as hard as he tried to fight it, the closer they got to the tower the more nervous he got. Sarutobi flashed through a long series of hand signs beneath the desk. Vault of Secrets, Sarutobi said. There was a whoosh and deep boom like a huge door slamming shut, then the whole room seemed to be covered in steel, covering the door and windows as well as the walls, ceiling and floor, but the light level didn't change. Naruto swallowed nervously. He'd never seen or even heard of this jutsu before. He glanced at Yugao, and despite her mask it was obvious she hadn't seen this either. Am I in trouble? He asked nervously. That's up to you, Naruto. I just want you to answer a few questions, and please don't try to lie, I'll know if you do. Sarutobi said and saw Naruto nod nervously. When did you first meet KY-chan? Sarutobi said. Naruto sighed and laughed a moment. Just over 2 weeks ago. How are you controlling them? Sarutobi asked. Naruto hung his head a moment as he sighed. I don't really control them like that. As KY-chan explained it to me, I make them want to make me happy, like they love me. They'll do anything I tell them, but that's as much as I do. Yugao pulled off and dropped her mask, then got down on one knee. So you used some new genjutsu on me, Naruto-kun, that's why I kissed you and let you rub my. So you don't really love me? Yugao asked through a mix of emotions. Naruto led and put his hands on her shoulders. Of course I love you, Yugao-chan. I charmed you because you're beautiful and a really strong kunoichi. I chose you to be one of my special ladies. Yugao smiled happily and hugged him tightly. Thank you, Naruto-kun. I'm so happy to have someone care about me again. Sarutobi coughed, then watched Yugao snap back to attention, his smile suppressed. How do you do it without any hand signs, or am I right in thinking this is a new bloodline limit? It's a bloodline limit, a doujutsu like the Byakugan or Sharingan. KY-chan activated it, but it took her 2 weeks, during which I woke up every morning with a bad headache that would last about 5 minutes or so, but I hadn't really talked to her. I only saw her in dreams when I was asleep, so I didn't know she was real. Or whatever she is, until a couple days ago when the headaches stopped. I call it the Kyokugan. KY-chan said the basic purpose of it is to charm women, but she also said it has like 4 levels she knows about, each with its own power, but I don't know what they are yet. She said it would work on guys, but the effect might not be the same and I shouldn't do it until I understand it better and advance it at least to level 2. Naruto said honestly, he didn't see any reason to hide anything, it was way too late for that anyway. So am I in trouble? I haven't decided yet. So who have you charmed so far? Sarutobi said. Hinata Hyuga was first, but it was by accident. I also charmed Neji Hyuga, Hana Hyuga, Ino Yamanaka, Sakura Haruno, Tenten, Rana Uchiha, Rock Lita. I don't think she has a last name, also Anko Midarashi, Kurenai Yuahi, and just this morning Yugao. I'm friends with Kiba Inuzuka, but I didn't charm her yet and she doesn't know what I can do, she just thinks I'm really popular. Naruto said. Sarutobi nodded, his expression never changed. Besides Anko and Kurenai, how many have you had with? Naruto's eyes opened a little wider in surprise. Well, Hinata and Tenten. I see. Sarutobi said calmly. So what do you intend to do with all those women, Naruto? Naruto's eyebrows went up a moment, then he looked confused. What do you mean? Sarutobi smirked subtly. For now you're just having fun with them, but what about the future? Do you have any plans beyond getting my job? Naruto thought a minute, then shook his head. How about starting your own clan, or better yet, rebuilding your father's clan? Sarutobi said. I'd love to start my own. My father's clan, Naruto said, yelling the last part. That's right, Naruto, I know who your parents are, and who KY-chan really is. I'm guessing she hasn't told you her real name yet. Sarutobi said, then held up his hand to stop the barrage of questions he knew were forming in Naruto's mind. I was supposed to wait until you were 16 so you were strong enough and mature enough to handle it and protect yourself, but I can already tell you've matured a lot in the last few weeks, and if I'm correct you're going to have Anko and the others train you. Have they taught you anything yet? Sarutobi said. Naruto really wanted to ask about his parents, but he knew the old man fairly well. Well, yes, yesterday Anko taught me the shadow clone jutsu. I got it down in about an hour and a half. She also said I can use it to learn a lot faster than normal. Very impressive. Did she mention the advanced form, multi-shadow clone jutsu? Instead of one clone for a certain amount of chakra, it makes at least two, more it you want, and uses the same amount of chakra. It's even more effective. Promise me you'll keep me informed of your progress and who you charm, and I'll tell you who your parents are, who KY-chan is, and help you any way I can, with 3 conditions. First, you tell no one of our deal or what you can do. Second, I'll ask you to do me a favor occasionally, sometimes that will mean a mission, you'll do it without question. Finally, I want you to send a couple girls my way. Sarutobi said with a perverted smile. Naruto coughed a couple times, hard, then smiled. Deal. How about your secretary? She's pretty, and has big tits, 38E, soft though. How do you know that? Even I didn't know that. Sarutobi asked calmly, but was impressed, which was rare for him. Oh, I forgot, part of my ability is I can instantly know the measurements and bra cup size of any woman I see. I think there's more, but for now that's all I know. Naruto said. Sarutobi nodded. Get comfortable, it shouldn't take more than half an hour to tell. This started long before you were born. == 8:19 a.m. == Are you mad at me, Naruto-kun? I really was going to tell you, I was just waiting for the right time. Kyuubi asked submissively. I should be, but you've always been nice to me and helped me a lot, so I'll forgive you. No more secrets though, or else. Naruto thought. I promise. Kyuubi said. This will take a while to sink in. I can see why he did it, but considering how that turned out, I'm glad I have her sealed inside me. If he hadn't, I wouldn't have all these great girls, especially Hinata-chan. Oh, I'd like KY-chan to be my partner, like the Inuzuka do with dogs. Naruto said. I think that'll be fine. She seems to have changed since the attack 10 years ago, and since you're vouching for her, I'll have her officially registered by the end of the day. Do you mind if I make it one word, make her name Kaiken? Sarutobi said. Naruto thought for a moment, then smiled. She likes it. That's fine with me since I know her name now. I promised Kiba I'd take Kaiken to see her sister Hana for a checkup, then to see her mom about learning some of their techniques to use with her. I'll charm Hana, but would you mind if I charm Kiba's mom too? She's a clan head and I don't want to break any laws, even if you do know about it. Sarutobi thought a few moments. Use your best judgment, Naruto. I trust you not to embarrass Sume, her clan or Konoha. I will, thank you, Sarutobi-sama. Naruto said and gave him a respectful bow, only the second ever. Sarutobi smiled and nodded. Dismissed. Sarutobi said, then watched Naruto lead Yugao out of his office. Shortly after, his secretary came in and shut the door, a big happy smile on her face. Naruto-kun said you thought I was cute, and suggested I show you my appreciation for everything you've done for me. She said, then started untying the belt holding her shirt closed. A perverted smile crept across his face. I just hope I'm strong enough to survive this, but what a way to go. He thought happily. 9 a.m. Veterinary hospital . Naruto followed Kiba into the empty waiting room and through the door to the back rooms. Even if it was only for animals, he still hated hospitals, not for being sick because he never got sick, but before he even started the academy he'd woken up in a hospital room more times than he cared to think about. Now he knew why he was hated and why he healed so fast. Knowing Kyuubi had gone out of her way to keep him healthy helped, not for her own life, but to try and make it up to him the only way she had available to her, at least until 2 weeks ago. Are you sure this is okay, Kiba-chan? Sure. The Inuzuka clan run this place and my big sister is the head vet. She's a real bitch sometimes, but I love her anyway. She'll love Kaiken as much as the others did when we were at your apartment yesterday. Kiba said as she smiled. They aren't busy, so she'll be in back. Naruto nodded and unzipped the front of his orange jacket a few inches. Kaiken inside, like Akamaru usually was with Kiba, pressed against his black undershirt. He didn't want anyone seeing her yet. He followed Kiba down the hall to the back room through some double doors and saw her. She was nearly 6 feet tall, straight black hair to mid-back, a sleeveless black vest-like jacket, khaki shorts and black shinobi sandals. He was looking at her right side as she went through a box, her F-cup obviously bare beneath her jacket. She had nothing on beneath it. The red fang mark on her cheek was longer than Kiba's, and she had an odd tattoo on her shoulder that Kiba didn't. So that's the bitch you were telling me about, Naruto said casually. Kiba did a fast, nervous inhale. Naruto, are you trying to get me killed? Kiba said nervously. Hana instantly snapped to attention, facing her little sister and her friend. Her white eyes with vertical black slits focused on the blonde boy as she snarled, baring her large canine teeth. She stormed over to them, her chakra and ki rising noticeably with each step. She stopped in front of them. I'll deal with you at home, you little bitch. I thought you learned your lesson after the last beating I gave you. As for you, you little shit, Hana said as she grabbed his collar with her left hand. She froze when a small furry head popped up out of his jacket. Her anger instantly faded as she smiled, reached in with her right and pulled out the small fox and held it up. How cute, and a vixen too. She yours? Hana asked. Naruto sighed. Hi, she's my partner, and really smart too. I've never had her checked out, and Kiba said I should bring her to you for a full checkup. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, that's Kaiken. Since you brought her to me for a full checkup, I'll forget you called me a bitch, but if it happens again you lose a testicle, clear? Naruto swallowed nervously. Hi, Hana-san, Naruto said. He knew she was serious. Come on, let's get her to an examination room ASAP. Hana said, cradling Kaiken in her arms. Don't do it, Kyuubi-chan. Naruto thought. Please, Naruto-kun, she threatened you. Just let me jump into her top and bite a tit. I won't take her nipple off, I promise. Just chew on it a little to teach her a lesson. Kyuubi said. No, I can handle her. Maybe after I charm her I'll let you do something, but not before, and nothing that'll leave a scar. Kyuubi nodded in submission, but still had a smirk on her face. 9:38 a.m. He's been in there for 15 minutes, Kaiken was healthy, so what is Naruto doing in there with Hana? Kiba said, then stood and headed for exam room 4 where they were. When she opened the door she froze in shock and her ears were hit by sounds she hadn't heard until just then. Her big sister Hana, a self-proclaimed, professional bitch, was, on her hands and knees on the floor, and behind her was Naruto, from the waist down, and her while pulling her hair. Okami yes, pull my hair, take me like the I am Naruto-sama, make me your little bitch. Hana exclaimed in ecstasy as Naruto slammed his huge into her very hot from behind, then howled and tensed up as another huge orgasm hit her. Hana. Naruto-kun. Kiba said confused and stunned. She knew Naruto was good with girls, but she never thought he'd tame her big sister like this, and very easy it seemed. Single quote exclamation mark single quote. Naruto thought, still full of energy despite having just shot his second load inside Hana. Kiba-chan. Naruto said strongly to get her attention, and when she looked at him, he gave her the look. Would you like to join us? Naruto asked smoothly as he smiled. Kiba nodded, only half smiling. Wait in the hallway Akamaru. Kiba said and sent a confused Akamaru out while she went in, unzipping her coat. 10:04 a.m. Hana kissed Naruto, whimpered like a happy puppy when he pinched her big nipples, then walked around the exam table and looked down at the smiling face of her little sister sprawled on it, reached out and softly squeezed Kiba's. Am I forgiven now for being such a bitch to you? I still owe you several kicks in your hairy cunt, but yes, I forgive you Hana-ni-chan, and we owe our new sisterhood to Naruto-kun. Kiba said. Mom will be so proud we finally bonded as sisters. Hana said with a smile. Oh, no charge for the checkup Naruto-kun, consider it a reward for bringing us together as a family. Where are you two pups headed anyway? I'm taking him to see Mom to ask her if I can train Naruto and Kaiken in our fighting moves. If anyone outside the clan is worthy of this honor, it's Naruto-kun. Kiba said as she sat up. Hana flinched. I wouldn't do that today, wait till next week. Hana said seriously. Why not? Kiba asked, curious. Hana took a breath and let it out slowly. Shirana. Kiba flinched in fear. Now Naruto was getting worried, and very curious. Who's Shirana, and why is she such a big problem? From what I know about your mom, she's the scariest kunoichi in Konoha, even worse than Anko. Naruto said. Hana and Kiba nodded immediately. She is, but Shirana is an Inuzuka, same clan, different family. She was Mom's only rival for head of the Inuzuka clan. When they were my age Mom beat her in a fight and became clan head. She's been nipping at Mom's heels ever since, but she won't challenge her for leadership because Mom would kill her. With one exception, Mom is the strongest kunoichi in Fire Country, and probably all the elemental nations. Hana said. Naruto whistled. She's really that strong. Hana nodded. She has a really bad temper too. Wait. You said with one exception, who's stronger than Sum? Naruto asked. Tsunade of the Sannin. Hana said. Naruto smiled, which got him odd looks from Kiba and Hana. They didn't know what he'd learned about her earlier. Naruto tightened his belt then looked at the still Hana. Hana-chan, did you really beat up Kiba-chan? Naruto asked curiously, Kaiken standing by his feet. Hana looked down at the floor. Hi, Naruto-sama, many times, but only to teach her a lesson and make her tougher. I did it out of love, but I'm ashamed to tell you I enjoyed it. Hana said meekly. Kiba-chan, tell me the truth, do you think she still deserves to be punished before you'll forgive her completely? Naruto asked. I love and respect her because she's my older sister and she's strong, but Mom doesn't know half the things she's done to me, so yes. Kiba said. Naruto sighed sadly. I'm sorry Hana-chan. Kaiken. Naruto said. Naruto watched Kaiken race across the floor then leap up and bite down firmly on Hana's still hard, 9 inches. Hana nearly screamed as Kaiken hung from her. She fell to her knees, then went down on her back, legs spread wide, and Kaiken seemed to be chewing on it, which did have her screaming. It bothered him, but he knew Kyuubi wasn't doing serious damage, but sharp teeth on a very sensitive body part didn't feel good. He watched all three carefully for almost 3 minutes before Kiba said something. "That's enough, Naruto. Make Kaiken stop, please," Kiba said almost sadly. Kaiken suddenly released her bite on Hana's. Kiba immediately took her salve out, knelt by Hana's right thigh and rubbed a 3-finger scoop onto Hana's, rubbing it in the full length with both hands. Although it looked like she was stroking it she was doing it strictly for medical reasons. It was only for surface injuries like minor cuts and scrapes, so it did the job well. Hana moaned in relief, and couldn't help but get fully aroused again, which she found both exciting and humiliating to be dominated like this by her little sister, despite what they'd done to each other not 20 minutes ago. Naruto smirked as Kyuubi mentioned that to him, then suggested he make that feeling permanent. While Kiba was finishing, he walked over by Hana's head, kneeled down and whispered his suggestion in Hana's ear. He didn't want Kiba to hear him, he thought it'd be more fun this way. Hana nodded and smiled when he finished. She thought his idea for dealing with these feelings was kinky, but she liked it. "All done, you'll be fine in a few minutes." "So what did you tell her, Naruto-kun?" Kiba asked as she stood and put the salve away. "Nothing important, Kiba-chan. I would like to see your mom, but I think I'll take your advice and wait until she's in a better mood. The whole clan is probably all upset. I think I could solve this problem, but I'll need at least a couple days to get ready. Meantime, how'd you like to help me train? We'll get the others and go to this spot I know where we can train in secret." Naruto said. "I'd love to, Naruto-kun, and if you can help mom with Sharana, it'll help convince her to let me train you and Kaiken." Kiba said. "She's right, Naruto-kun, it will." Hana said as she got back up. "Thanks for checking Kaiken for me, Hana-chan. Come on, Kiba-chan." Naruto said, then grabbed Hana's panties and slipped them in his pocket. Hana just nodded as he took her panties. She knew it was a trophy of his conquest of her. She'd been tamed and couldn't be happier about it. 11:39 a.m. Naruto's apartment. "I don't get it. I couldn't find Ino, Sakura, Neji or Hinata-chan anywhere," Naruto said to Kiba and Tenten as he walked up the outside stairs to his apartment. "I just have to drop something off and pick up some things, then we'll go meet Anko-chan," Naruto said, then unlocked his door, stepped inside and froze in shock. Kiba and Tenten stepped in behind him. Tenten smiled and shut the door. Kiba stood there as shocked as Naruto. "Surprise," Tenten said, then pulled Naruto down a little and kissed him. "I didn't know, Naruto-kun, I swear," Kiba said. Naruto heard them, and believed Kiba, but all he could do was stare at the sights before him. The small surprise was seeing Ino, Sakura, Neji and Hinata standing there in the middle of the room, smiling at him, and they were totally. The real shock was that his apartment was not only clean, but all his old furniture had been replaced with new furniture, everything practically sparkled. Hinata stepped forward. "It was my idea, Naruto-kun. After we spent the afternoon here playing with Kaiken, I couldn't let my Naruto-kun live in such a dirty apartment. I hope you don't mind." "Don't worry about your things, we checked everything carefully before we threw anything away. What we didn't is sealed in a scroll in your bedroom with your old furniture. I had to keep it just in case you wanted it for something else, or sentimental reasons, especially the couch and bed," Hinata said and blushed lightly. "I had some branch members hook up your new appliances, but I did your bedroom myself. Wanna see it?" Hinata said, smiling. Naruto just nodded. He still couldn't believe that his apartment was clean. He followed Hinata to his bedroom where he found a king-size bed with an expensive-looking, carved heavy wooden frame, 2 dressers, and even the wooden floor was new. She led him to his closet and opened it. It was full of new clothes of every color, but everything had some orange on it. Hinata then led him over to the larger of the new dressers. It had 1 drawer at the bottom, but the rest of it was two huge doors hinged on the outsides. She knelt down and reached under it. He heard a click a moment later, then she stood and opened the doors. Inside the 6 feet tall, 5 feet wide, 1 foot deep dresser were 60 hanger-like clips. On each was a space for a blank label, but the first 9 each held a pair of panties. A name was written on each label identifying their former owner, and in order he claimed them. Hinata Hyuga, Enko Mitarashi, Ino Yamanaka, Sakura Haruno, Tenten, Neji Hyuga, Hana Hyuga, Kurenai Uehi, Rock Lita, Rana Uchiha. I love it, Hinata-chan, thank you, but there's a few missing. Naruto said, then stepped up into it so he could reach the top row, then put up 2 more pairs and wrote their names on the labels. Kiba-chan, if you would please. Naruto said. Kiba nodded, quickly pulled her pants and panties down and off, tossed her panties to Naruto and put her pants back on. Kiba-chan, you're with us now? Hinata said and smiled when Kiba nodded. Who do the other 2 belong to, Naruto-kun? Naruto attached and labeled Kiba's panties, then hopped down. Yugao Azuki and Hana Inuzuka, Kiba-chans are the newest. How'd you get your mom's panties anyway? She gave them to me for you after we talked this morning. She really wants to be with you and show you how much she loves you, but don't worry, father doesn't know you own her heart like you do mine and the others. What about Lita's? Naruto asked. I saw her this morning while we were out shopping. I told her what we were doing and that she owed them to you. She brought them by about a half hour later. She wanted to be here too, but she had to meet someone and didn't want to be rude by not showing up. She's free tomorrow though, after 10, and wants to come over and train with you, or do anything else you want. Hinata said with a perverted little giggle. Naruto smiled. That'd be great. Oh, almost forgot why I'm here. You girls all look great, and I'd love to spend the day here making you all happy, but I was looking for you so we can go train with Anko-chan. Really? You'd let us train with you under Anko? Ino said, then looked at the others. We'd love to. Ino exclaimed happily, then they ran off to get dressed. Naruto-kun, tomorrow I want to have a big party here to celebrate your new apartment, and I want you to make love to all of us, please. Hinata asked sweetly and pressed her huge bear against him. Anything for you, Hinata-chan. I was gonna do that eventually anyway, and this is as good a reason as any. Naruto said and kissed her. 6:25 p.m. Ichiraku Ramen, backroom . She alternated viciously twisting and squeezing his big balls while she masterfully sucked his steel-hard 8 inches. She bounced him between intense pleasure and searing agony. She was rather impressed he'd lasted 15 minutes already. She took her mouth off his painfully throbbing and looked up into his face as she squeezed his balls, ready to bust him if she had to. She really liked and respected the older man and didn't want to turn him into a limp jerk-off with permanent blue balls, but he walked in on her Naruto-kun, his 16-year-old daughter Ayame, in the back room. Tuki, can Naruto-kun Ayame-chan any time he wants her, with your blessing, or do I have to end you as a man? Naruto-kun will be very good to her, you have our promise on that, and if you go along with us, we can guarantee you unlimited, civilian and kunoichi, anyone you want, as well as all the money you'll need to live comfortably. What's your answer? Anko said. He looked across the room where Naruto was Ayame against the wall, squeezing her big and alternating sucking her very large nipples. Despite how he felt about it as her father, he had to admit to himself she looked happy, and she did really like him, so he was glad it was Naruto that took her virginity and not some stranger, or Kami forbid, a rapist. He nodded. Okay. Anything, just please Anko, let me come. Anko smiled and nodded. On the other side of the storage room, Naruto had Ayame pinned against the wall. He already charmed her. Her left leg was raised high and bent, her foot on a stack of boxes, giving him full access to her body. Her D-cup were full, round and soft, quite impressive. What he really loved though was her nipples. Her bow WN areola were almost 6 inches across and almost covered the front half of her, and her nipples were half an inch thick and over an inch long, fully aroused. He'd always thought of her as a big sister, but he could resist the urge to be more. As he pumped her hot, tight, she moaned in her rolled-up apron she was biting. Unfortunately, Tyuki had caught them and Anko had come in a moment later, kunai in hand. All he said was, "Not like that." He didn't like seeing Tyuki in pain, but it only took him a few seconds to realize what she was doing to help him. Besides, Anko was very good with her mouth, especially her tongue, and he thought Tyuki deserved some happiness too since all he had was work and taking care of Ayame. He hadn't told Ayame, but he'd seen Anko quickly put a sound seal on the room after restraining him a moment. Ayame couldn't believe what was happening. It was better than any dream. She'd suddenly fallen for Naruto. Something about him suddenly made her heart soar. It was his eyes. What really blew her mind was finding out a few minutes later how well endowed Naruto was. She'd read a few books like most girls her age, but none of them measured up to Naruto, and now the first boy to touch her was now filling her body and soul. She'd never been so happy in her life as she felt him pumping her. Finally, she couldn't take any more and everything went hazy. She had no idea how long it was, but she felt a pleasant numbness fill her very soul. She felt like she was floating on a cloud. When her mind cleared, she was laying on some boxes looking up at the ceiling. She turned her head and smiled when she saw his face. "Welcome back, Ayame-chan. You were great, especially for your first time," Naruto said happily as he slipped his jacket back on, leaned down and kissed her on the lips. "What time is it? Oh Kami, my dad, Ayame said and started to panic. Naruto put a finger over her lips and smiled. "Taken care of, it's okay Ayame, he knows and approves, don't you Tyuki-san?" "Yes I do. Are you happy Ayame-chan?" Tyuki said, very sore, but still felt great. He hadn't been touched by a woman since his wife died 14 years ago. He still loved her, but it was way past time he move on and he knew it. Plus, he was thrilled that everything still worked properly, despite his age and lack of use. "We're closing. Oh, and it's almost 7, you've been out about 20 minutes. I guess I wore you out," Naruto said and laughed. "We're closing Ayame-chan. Get dressed, we have a lot to talk about when we get home," Tyuki said, nodded to Naruto then walked out of the room with Anko. October 26th, 8 a.m., Hokage Tower "I need to see Hokage-sama right away," Hinata said. The secretary looked at her schedule a moment. "I'm sorry but you don't have an appointment, but if it's urgent I'll relay a message to him, then he'll decide if he will see you," she said calmly. "I must see him right away. This is about Naruto Uzumaki and is very important," Hinata said in a firm, polite voice. The instant she heard his name she smiled as her face lit up for just a moment with happiness and concern. "Is he okay?" Hinata smiled. It had only been a few days but her many talks with Naruto and time with the others, she'd learned how to spot them, especially if they were new and not trained yet. It normally went against her nature, but this was for Naruto, and this woman was already his slave. "Do you know who I am?" "Hinata Hyuga," the secretary said, now slightly nervous as she was a civilian. "Did you know I'm also Naruto-kun's alpha, his #1 girl? I also know how you feel about him. Now do what I tell you or lose him forever," Hinata said fiercely. It was more devastating to her emotionally than a death threat from Anko. I'm sorry Hinata-san, Naruto didn't tell me, please don't tell him, I'll do anything you want," she said, got up and led Hinata to his office door. 12 p.m., Naruto's apartment Hinata looked around the apartment, smiling at all the beautiful women she saw. The furniture had already been rearranged to open up the floor. "Before the party starts I have a special present for Naruto-kun," Hinata said, stepped up to him as she reached into her coat pocket and pulled something out. "Congratulations," she said and held out her hand. Slightly confused, Naruto took it from her and held it up. "My special present is a key." Hinata's smile didn't waver for an instant. Yes, it is Naruto-kun. That's the master key for this apartment building. I bought it for you this morning. Hokage-sama has already filed the paperwork. Hinata said happily, but the look on Naruto's face was all she cared about. You bought the whole building, for me, Hinata-chan? Naruto asked, stunned. When she nodded to confirm it, a huge smile crossed his face. AMD he scooped her up for some very passionate kissing. He didn't hear everyone cheering happily. 12:06 p.m. There's plenty of food in the kitchen, and on the table over there are several boxes of a new game I want everyone to try. The winners will get to play against me and Naruto-kun. I want to add one rule though, you have to be to play. Hinata said with a big smile, then followed Naruto into the bedroom and shut the door. Anko went over to the table and looked at the boxes. Twister. Looks like fun. Bedroom. Hinata-chan, I want to do something special for you because you're my number one bitch. Naruto said. Hinata smiled and blushed. He called all his girls his bitches, but only in private as a term of affection. Thank you, Naruto-kun. This is my secret jutsu. I made it myself to do pranks, but I haven't have a chance to use it yet. But because of you and the others I have perfected it, and thanks to Anko-chan, made a stronger version. Naruto said, smiling, then made a hand sign. Jutsu. Naruto said. There was a puff of smoke, and when it cleared a moment later he was a girl with two ponytails down to her waist, full, firm, F-cup with big nipples, a thick curly blonde bush above her smooth lips, and of course no clothes. Aren't I just the cutest girl ever? Naruto said in a female voice. Hinata's eyes bugged out and her jaw dropped. Byakugan. Hinata said a moment later. Naruto-kun, you're. I'm real. I know. I think my Kyokugan has something to do with it because I can only do it when I turn into a girl, it just feels different than a normal henge. So Hinata-chan, you wanna lick my? Naruto said, smiled and winked. Hinata nodded absent-mindedly, stepped close and grabbed Naruto's. Wow, they feel just like mine. Naruto giggled. Oh, that feels good, Hinata-chan. Oh, I just had an idea. Naruto said, gently removed Hinata's hands, made a hand sign and smiled deviously. Shadow Clone Jutsu. A copy of female Naruto appeared, then the original changed back to normal. So how does Iruko look? Naruto said, then his newly renamed female clone smiled. Hinata looked at Iruko, Byakugan still active. Wow, just like you did before. I can't tell her from you, Naruto-kun, she has chakra coils and everything, that's incredible. Hinata said, impressed. Cool, I'll have to make this a jutsu and name it, but for now, how about a threesome with me? Naruto said and smiled. Sounds fun. I get her head and tits first. Iruko said. Hinata got so excited her entire body turned pink. She quickly stripped down to nothing and looked at Naruto. Naruto smiled, stripped off his clothes, then he and Iruko followed Hinata onto his bed. This is gonna be an interesting memory. Naruto said. Hinata laid on the bed, spread out. Come on, Iruko, I want to see if I can do this as good as Naruto-kun. Hinata said. She knew Iruko was just a clone of Naruto, but she was treating her as just another girl. She directed Iruko over and onto her upper chest. Her, Iruko's was a few inches from her face. Her shoulders now between Iruko's thighs and ankles, she curled her arms around Iruko's thighs, her hands near her blonde, she gently grabbed and parted the labia and she felt Naruto's shoulders touch her inner thighs. Iruko looks just like a real girl down here. Naruto-kun, did you copy my for your jutsu? Hinata asked excitedly. Naruto smiled. Yes, when I improved it, at first I didn't even have one because I'd never seen a girl, and then I met you, Anko-chan and the others. I knew if I was going to fool people I had to look real, that means I needed and of all my girls yours is the prettiest, I added the curly bush though so she looks older. Hinata blushed and smiled proudly, then it faded. Why didn't you copy my too, Naruto-kun? Yours are the biggest of all the girls our age, but after I met her I wanted to copy your mom's, I just haven't seen him yet. Naruto said. Mom will be honored, but let's test her out first. Hinata said then giggled. Naruto laughed, then leaned in and stuck his tongue into Hinata's moist folds. Hinata made a short caking noise, grabbed Iruko's hips, took a quick breath and let it out, then copied Naruto's technique, curling her tongue up against Iruko's still hidden, which made her moan loudly. She felt Naruto running his tongue in, around and over her, and copied his moves on Iruko, almost mirroring him lick for lick. Naruto tastes really good as a girl, but a little different, ooh hhhh. Hinata thought then lost her train of thought when Naruto took her now hard 2 inches in his mouth and nibbled it. Naruto saw and felt Hinata shake when he nipped her, that got her every time. Sliding his hands up her silky inner thighs he hooked his thumbs inside her outer lips and opened her wide, and with his index and middle fingers rubbed the thin patch of silky blue hair on her mound. As Hinata mirrored what Iruko was doing to her, she got Iruko to scoot forward a little, then moaned deeply when she felt her grab her huge and stretch them up slightly. She mewed loudly. Iruko knew exactly what she wanted, and was rewarded moments later when she felt the sharp, but pleasantly painful tingles in her nipples, and bit Iruko harder than intended as the waves of pleasure washed over her, and the feeling stopped as she suddenly had a face full of smoke. Naruto suddenly threw his head back and yelled in both pain and pleasure as he got the memories. When it passed his head flopped forward, driving his forehead head on Hinata's hard, squashing it. She screamed as a small orgasm and spike of agony went through her. Both of them laid there a minute, both making whimpering noises. Naruto raised his head then chuckled playfully and apologetically. Sorry Hinata-chan. Sorry Naruto-kun. Hinata said at the same time, then raised her head, looked at his face, then smiled and started laughing. Naruto smiled and laughed with her a few minutes. Well, that was still pretty good, but we need to practice. Hinata nodded. Hi, and I'm sorry I bit hard. So what was it like, being the girl? Weird, but you definitely get more out of this than I do. Girls are a lot more sensitive than guys. I'll have to remember that. Naruto said. For now, can we just keep it between us, maybe have a real girl join us another time? Hinata asked. Naruto nodded. Good idea Hinata-chan. Naruto said then carefully crawled up her body and easily slipped about 6 inches of himself inside her. Come on you hairy bitch, let your guard down, no one will disturb us. We've been here 10 minutes and you still aren't relaxed. I know she's a big thorn in your paw, but you won't help anything going full bitch on her and you know it as well as I do. Anko said, soaking in the outdoor spring. She's right, you need to clear your head. That's why we invited you along. Kurenai said, soaking in the outdoor spring across from Anko. Grr. Okay damn it. I'll try, as a favor to you too because you're the only kunoichi that'll put up with a wild bitch like me. Sum said. This is pure gold. He thought from outside the fence, scribbling furiously but silently in a small notebook without looking at it. Sum sank into the bubbling hot water to her ears and froze when she heard the door from the changing room to the outside spring slide open, but what really got her attention was hearing a young, but clearly male voice. Hey, mind if I join you? He said with a smile, then froze and his smile vanished. Looking through the peephole in the fence the man froze when he felt it, he saw her rise out of the water like a demonic beast from the bowels of hell. He'd only felt stronger ki from his former teammate, the PMS princess. Kid, you are so dead, I'd help but I want to continue being a man. An experience I think you're about to be denied. He thought. He watched her walk over to the little blonde kid, her ki rising noticeably with each step. Before she reached him he saw the kid close his eyes and try to relax, but he knew that wouldn't help. Ki of that intensity you could feel, you didn't need to see her to be affected. He had to admit though, it was the first time he'd seen Inuzuka and she was damn impressive, powerful but not overly muscled hard body, long muscular legs, firm round butt, a currently soaked, huge, long, thick black bush hanging from her mound, and very large tits, H-cups he figured, accurately, her thick mane of black hair clinging to her upper back, her lightly tanned skin shining in the sun, even the few scars she had were. She reached down with her left, grabbed his collar and curled him up her eye level. Do you have any idea who I am and what I can do to you? Sum said in a husky, feral voice filled with barely restrained rage. This is it. Sorry kid. He thought, feeling sorry for the kid, but trying to save him was suicide because of who two of them were. I do know who you are. Naruto said, opened his eyes and looked right into hers. You're Sum Inuzuka, head of the Inuzuka clan, and what you can do, is put me down and suck my like a good bitch. Naruto said strongly, eyes sparkling. He clenched his jaw. Oh, was that the wrong thing to? Whatt he thought, then dropped his pencil and notebook in the grass when Sum actually did it. After she put him down, she yanked off the towel he was wearing, that made his jaw drop when he saw what the blonde kid had, then watched dumbstruck as Sum Inuzuka stuffed the kid's huge down her throat to the balls like some subby in his books, and with the other two women watching casually, she gave him an incredible, deep throat blowjob, and when he blew his load down her throat she happily swallowed it. She escorted him to the spring where he kissed Anko and Kurenai while squeezing there like he owned them, and got in the water followed by Sum who snuggled next to him like some obedient puppy. 5:48 p.m., street outside Naruto was walking past the wooded area surrounding the hot spring when he heard a voice. Pissed. Hey kid. Naruto glanced around then focused on the woods to his left. Me. Yeah. Come here kid, I need to ask you something. Why should I listen to some guy hiding in the bushes? Naruto said with a smirk. You're an academy student, right? He asked and saw the kid nod. Then you've heard of me. I'm the legendary Toad Sage Jiraiya, apprentice of the third Hokage and one of the Sannin. Jiraiya said with quiet pride. Sum and the other two were walking the other way, still too close for his comfort. Yeah, I've heard of you. Naruto said casually. He wanted to mention he knew Jiraiya was his godfather, was his dad's sensei and several other things, but kept quiet. He wanted to see if Jiraiya recognized him. He glanced around then went through the bushes and cluster of trees that hid a small clearing about 20 feet from the street. Jiraiya was leaning against a tree he passed entering the clearing. He turned and faced him. So what do you want? I won't bother sugar-coating it because I know a fellow pervert when I see one. How in Kami's name did you do that? Jiraiya asked. You were spying on them. Naruto said, getting a little upset. Whoa, calm down kid, don't do something rash like scream. I really don't want to deal with them, I just wanna talk, that's it. At least give me a chance first. Jiraiya said slightly nervous, hands up. Okay. If you can tell me my name I won't tell them what you were doing. Naruto said smugly. He knew from Sarutobi that Jiraiya was the author of the Ichi Ichi Paradise books and was a self-proclaimed super pervert. He actually admired him but couldn't resist the chance to torture him a little first. In Naruto's mindscape, Kyuubi was laughing her off at how Naruto was manipulating him so easily. Okay. I was watching, but it's research. Jiraiya said and looked at him closely a moment before his eyes popped wide open. Naruto Uzumaki. Okay, how much so you know? Jiraiya asked sternly, realizing he'd been played by the subtle smirk that appeared on Naruto's face when he said his name. Everything, who my parents were, what was done to me, and I know all about you and your books. Very good, by the way. The last issue was really exciting, especially the bedroom catfight between the princesses. I can't tell ya how hot that made, Anko said smirking. Technically you shouldn't be reading that, but I'm glad you're a fan. I'll let it slide if you tell me how you tamed Sum like that. I thought she was gonna tear you apart. Jiraiya said. Naruto smiled. I'll tell you under two conditions. First, you make me your apprentice and train me. Second, when you aren't training me, you're my apprentice and you'll do anything I tell you to. Jiraiya laughed. I wouldn't mind training you to honor your dad, but why in Kami's name would I, a legendary shinobi, let a kid boss me around? Naruto smiled. Simple, you're a bigger pervert than I am, and that's saying a lot, but I can get you more than even you can handle. Naruto said seriously. Jiraiya's eyes got big as saucers and he swallowed nervously. He could tell Naruto wasn't lying, and that both scared and really excited him. Tell me how you do it. Give me a demonstration, and I'll gladly call you sensei. I have a bloodline limit, a doujutsu I call the Kyokugan that lets me charm any female regardless of age or how strong she is. You saw what I did to Sume. She was in a full rage and with a single look I had her on her knees happily sucking my like she'd always been my slave. Enko and Kurenai are mine too. I charmed them a few weeks ago, and just like I did Sume in the hot spring, I just have to make eye contact and I can charm 'em. I could make your ex-teammate Tsunade my subby just as easy. Naruto said. Jiraiya just nodded. Okay. Go pick out the girl you want. I'm having dinner with my girlfriends at 6:30 so don't take too long. Naruto said. == 6:11 p.m. Shinomi's Bookstore == Jiraiya, you know we don't get any new issues in until the 15th. Oh, who's your cute little friend? Shinomi said, slightly annoyed at first, then happily after she saw him. This is Naruto Uzumaki. Jiraiya said. Shinomi leaned over the counter and took a good look at him. A few moments later she recognized him. The prankster all the gossips talk about and call the demon brat. Shinomi said and paused when she saw Naruto frown. I never talk to those gossiping bitches anyway, and no one tells me who I can and can't talk to. I know who you are now, I'll judge you myself, and from what I see you look like a good kid, even if you are hanging around this old pervert. He's a super pervert, Naruto said and laughed a moment. Jiraiya smirked and frowned at the same time. Is Kagome working today? Jiraiya said. Who? Naruto said. My daughter. Yeah, she's in the stockroom doing inventory, I'll introduce her to you. Kagome. Shinomi said then stood from her stool baying the counter. Naruto watched the auburn-haired woman stand. She was almost as tall as Jiraiya and her chest was very impressive. A firm, FF cup. He watched her walk around the counter to them as a girl ran in from the back room. She was mid to upper teens he figured, shoulder-length auburn hair like her mom, and to his pleasant surprise, her tits were as firm as almost as large as her mother's. She was a full, firm F cup, which was very impressive. That's why he comes here, not for the manga, but their tits. He can have them after I'm done. Naruto thought. Oh, who's the little cutie? Kagome soughed excitedly, her firm tits bouncing a little beneath her snug shirt. That's Naruto Uzumaki, Shinomi said. Jiraiya watched closely, especially their eyes, as Naruto reached up and put a finger on Kagome's lips as Naruto shushed her. He saw her eyes sparkle, then called Shinomi's name, and when she looked at him she smiled happily as her eyes sparkled just like Kagome's had. It was only for a second he saw their eyes sparkle like diamonds in the sun. That has to be a side effect when he charms them, his probably sparkle too. Jiraiya thought. He couldn't help but take mental notes since he had no doubts he was going to be Naruto's sensei and follower. But to be around this kid and all the women he was going to get, he'd kneel at Naruto's feet and swear his loyalty to the kid beyond everything else, even Konoha. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity as a super pervert. As he watched Naruto strip mother and daughter from the waist down, put Shinomi on her hands and knees, then while he her doggy style made Shinomi eat Kagome's. Smiling pervertedly he began thinking of all the women he knew in every country from the elemental nations to small countries, civilians to princesses. I have to take him on a road trip, he thought. It didn't take long for Shinomi to have a screaming orgasm and collapse. Jiraiya then watched, very impressed, as a still rock-hard Naruto laid Kagome on her mom, back to back, held her legs up and wide, then buried half his in her tight, taking her virginity, and then her silly just like he did Shinomi, then after blowing his second huge load, this time in Kagome, casually pulled up his pants, and took both of their panties. What did you take their panties for? Trophies. I take 'em from every girl I charm. Now about our deal. Naruto said. Jiraiya dropped to his knees and bowed low. I bow to you as the kami of perverts. I'm at your command, Naruto-sama. Jiraiya said sincerely. Naruto smiled. Just Naruto is fine. Why don't you go talk to the old man? He can fill you in on everything. Officially Anko is my sensei, but I can give you, 20 shadow clones to train like I do her. Will that work? You can do the shadow clone. Impressive. Yeah, that'll work, and I think I will go see Sarutobi sensei. Tomorrow. Jiraiya said. Naruto nodded. 8 o'clock. How about training ground 20? That's out of the way and I don't think anyone uses it. Ladies, have a good day. I'll be back when I can. Meanwhile, I want you both to know each other's bodies intimately. Naruto said. Both tiredly smiled and nodded as they slowly got up. Naruto left. Jiraiya followed reluctantly. December 4th. Lunch, Academy Courtyard. Naruto opened his ramen box, then the small box of crispy breaded and extra spicy garlic sauce. Using his chopsticks, he picked up a piece, then tossed it about a foot away. Kaiken leapt up, caught it in her mouth and ate it. Akamaru whimpered. Forget it, you know that's too spicy for you. I can't even eat it. Kiba said. Kaiken loves it, but she only gets it once a day, and don't look at me like that. Naruto said. I know, Naruto, but it's so good. I'm addicted to this because of you. I know, this is my payment for training you. Kyuubi said in Naruto's mindscape. Naruto tossed Kaiken another piece, then slurped some of his ramen. How's your training going with Anko-chan? Naruto said after he swallowed. Great, Naruto-kun. We make a different team of 3, then work on strategy by battling for an hour, then we either work on jutsu or physical conditioning. We've all gotten a lot better, a lot faster than Anko expected. Hinata said proudly. Yesterday was me, Hinata and Lita against Ino, Sakura and Kiba, and we won. Tenten said happily. I just wish Hinata-chan hadn't knocked us out afterward with a Jiyuken strike our pussies. Ino said. Anko told me I had to knock you out and that was the closest targets. Besides, didn't I make it up to you after we finished training? Hinata said with a perverted smirk. Ino smiled and blushed slightly. Hi, you did, and Anko did say we can't show any mercy. I'd have done the same in your place. Ino said. I'm improving as well, Naruto-kun, since you defeated me and made me yours. I've found greater focus. Neji said calmly. You too, Neji-ni-chan, has everyone else found training easier? Hinata asked. Well, that's cool. Naruto said. It must be a side effect of being charmed, most likely to help them serve you better. We can use this. Kyuubi said. Has anyone noticed any other changes? Tenten asked curiously. What kind of changes, Tenten-chan? Has something happened to you? Hinata said. Naruto looked at Tenten curiously, with the others. Unusual dreams, growing hair overnight. Tenten said. The girls all giggled. That's just puberty, Tenten. That's happening to all of us. Of course Hinata-chan got there first. Ino said, smirking. Hinata smiled. So waking up 4 nights ago with a black mop between my legs is normal. Okay, I'm just really hairy there, I guess. I'll just have to shave it all off again if it grows back. I didn't think I'd get that much overnight though, it was weird. Tenten thought. Okay. Tenten said. January 1st, 6:38 a.m., Naruto's apartment building, roof HNNG, stupid bed, hard, scratchy mattress. She said, then opened her eyes and groaned, covering them for a moment until they adjusted. She sat up, opened her eyes, and gasped in total shock as she realized she was on the rooftop terrace she quickly recognized as Naruto's, but even more shocking was that she was totally. She leapt to her feet, her black hair hanging to her knees. How'd I get on Naruto-kun's roof, and why am I? I have to tell him, but what do I tell him? that I woke up on his roof. He'll think I'm crazy. I have to find out what's wrong with me first. She said, slightly panicked, turned toward her house, ran to the edge and leapt off to the next roof at her top speed, her long hair waving behind her as she sprinted across the rooftops. What she didn't notice as she sprinted home across the rooftops, half hidden by her long hair, was a 3 feet furry black tail with a white tip, or that the nails on her fingers and toes were actually inch-long claws. Walked into the room in his usual good mood, not just because he'd finally added Lita's sensei. My, probably the weirdest woman he'd ever met in his life, though he did love the tight green spandex bodyglove she wore because it showed every curve and crease in her hard, muscled body and what he knew were the firmest D cups around, and she was nearly tireless in bed, but the real reason was because they had 2 weeks off while the academy training grounds were improved. You wanted to see me, Naruto said, then froze when he saw who was standing next to the old man's desk. He pushed the door closed behind him without even thinking, almost slamming it. So this is him. Doesn't look very strong to me, but if you say he can help me, you have a deal. I don't have a choice anyway, she said, looking Naruto over like a piece of meat. Naruto looked at the woman. Despite everything he'd seen, he had to admit that she was very impressive. She stood 6 feet tall, had purple eyes, a strong face like Anko's, a powerful but still feminine build that reminded him of Sume, a long-sleeved black shirt under a sleeveless, heavy white shirt that, to his eyes at least, did a poor job of hiding as large as Hana Hyuga's. She wore a wide black belt that covered her waist and lower stomach like armor, with blue and white camo pants tucked into heavy, white, winter boots, but what got his attention as much as her huge, was her hair. She had a thick mane of white hair that cascaded over her shoulder and down her back to her waist, and down the middle was a purple stripe. Keep staring at my chest and you won't leave this office intact, understood? She said in a calm, but powerful voice. Hi, I apologize, then realized he didn't know her name. Naruto, I closed the academy because I need you for a special mission. This is Hisame of Snow Country, she's your client. Sarutobi said. Sundown, Eastern Fire Country . I hope you can cook, because I'm not going to. Hisame said, sitting on the stump by the campfire. I don't need to. During the time I left his office to when I met at Higate, I had some friends whip up a 2-week supply PF food and had it sealed in serving size portions in this scroll. Naruto said, then pulled the scroll from his backpack sitting next to him. He unrolled it, then unsealed 2 meals, and handed her one of the still hot boxes. Dig in, Naruto said as he opened his box of ramen and the chopsticks with it. Ramen? Don't tell me you brought 2 weeks worth of ramen, Hisame said, annoyed. Sure did, at least try it first, it's the best ramen in Fire Country. Naruto said. With a grumble, Hisame opened her box and tried some of the beef ramen. She found it was. She slurped down the rest still in her chopsticks, then lightly smiled. This could be a better trip than I thought, I'll give you credit for the food. I've eaten all over the Elemental Nation and most of the surrounding smaller countries, and I hate admitting this, but that's the best ramen I've ever had. Hisame said. Naruto smiled proudly, then he winced like he'd forgotten something. Hisame looked at him, then saw his jacket move and heard a yip. What's going on here? She asked, narrowing her eyes slightly. Naruto put down his ramen, and unzipped the top of his jacket. A moment later his passenger leapt out, landing between his feet. Sorry. What the, okay, what's with the fox? Hisame calmly demanded. Sorry about that, this is Kaiken, my familiar, this is my first mission with her and I forgot to mention her before we left. Naruto said as he unsealed a smaller box from the scroll, then took out a bowl as Kaiken yipped at him. You have I can't believe I'm going to say this, a ninja fox. Hisame said as she watched him pour what she recognized as crispy chicken and sauce into the bowl. Taking an inhale, she could tell it was very spicy too, hotter than most people could even tolerate. She was stunned when the small fox started gulping it down. She loves it spicy. I usually don't give it to her all at once, but she hasn't eaten since breakfast. Naruto said, embarrassed. I'm really sorry about that, KY-chan, it won't happen again, I promise. Naruto thought. It better not, it may not affect me in here, but that body is real and can be killed. I've gotten used to having a body again, even if only that one, but it is Betful and it is me, in part at least, so you better not let anything happen to it or I won't talk to you for a month. Kyuubi said strongly. I've heard about familiars, so you can talk to each other. Hisame said. Yes, she's a little upset, but she'll be fine after supper. Naruto said and picked up his ramen. Hisame smirked then laughed for just a moment. She acts like your girlfriend. Hisame said holding in her laughter. Naruto paused a moment to glare at her. He wanted to tell her he had a dozen friends around Konoha and had with all of them, but he didn't know much about her except what he was told in the meeting. What about you? Since you know things about me, I want to know about you. Why should I tell some kid about me? You know what you need to know. I'm from Snow Country. I'm married to a lying, cheating, power-hungry son of a bitch that treats me like a servant and not his wife, and if it'd help him get what he wanted he'd let me die without a second thought, and you're gonna help me kill that son of a bitch for betraying me as his wife, what else is there? Hisame said slowly getting louder and more upset. Was he good? Naruto asked calmly. Excuse me, Hisame asked, visibly upset. In bed, was he good? Was it all about his pleasure or did you get off too? Naruto asked, then slurped some ramen. Kaiken stopped eating and watched them. That's none of your business, and what would a little kid like you know about anyway? You probably just found your. Hisame said, yelling the last line. Since my birthday 4 months ago I've 68 girls at the academy, 25 kunoichi, most of them junin, and 142 civilian women and girls, and left every one of them begging me for more, and you? Naruto said casually. Hisame sat there, bug-eyed and slack-jawed as she tried to comprehend what she just heard. 2 disappointing one-night stands before Doso, and about 20 times since I married him 10 years ago. Hisame said blankly. Does he know how to pleasure a woman with your endowments, or did he just squeeze and pull him a minute before he spread your legs and gave you a 5-minute, rolled over and fell asleep? Naruto said casually. No he didn't. Yes he did, usually about 8 to 10 minutes, and every time. Hisame said. Did he have a big at least so you got something out of it? Naruto said. 7 inches, and the last couple years I have to finish myself off. Hisame said, still stunned. Naruto finished his ramen, saw Kaiken had finished her spicy chicken, sealed both in an empty scroll, picked up Kaiken and stood. I wasn't going to because you're an evil bitch that obviously enjoys hurting innocent people and you're just using me and Konoha to get rid of your husband and take his place, but change your ways, prove I can trust you and you'd make a good ally to Konoha, and after this mission is over I'll give you the of your life, good night Hisame-san. Naruto said, turned and went to his tent, zipping it closed. Hisame sat there in stunned silence, she'd just been put in her place by a kid that wasn't even a genin yet, but knew more about than she did as a 28-year-old woman and kunoichi with 12 as a junin. 1 hour 32 minutes later, Naruto's tent Naruto, can I come in? Naruto put his kunai down and sat up. Sure. Naruto said a little tiredly, still in his shirt and pants, he'd only removed his jacket and shoes. Kaiken was curled up next to him on her own pillow bed. Unzipping it Hisame crawled in, still fully dressed. Was that all true, everything you said, including the offer? Hisame asked in a gentle, sincere voice. Thanks to all his training and enhanced senses he could read her like a book, she'd been genuinely shaken to her core and was seriously conflicted emotionally. He could have easily charmed her and forced a change, but he wanted to master his seduction skills, or as his girls had nicknamed him, the ninja of love. Yes I did, and the offer is real. I may have enough girlfriends to start my own village, but I treat each and every one of them with love and respect, and I always make sure they're happy. Naruto said sincerely. Thank you, Naruto, Hisame said and paused, very subtly quivering. Naruto sniffed the air and mentally smiled. You want to ask me to you? I hate to do it, but I have to say no, and you know why. Because you don't trust me. I understand. Good night, Naruto, Hisame said, backed out and zipped the tent closed. Naruto heard her very soft sobs as she walked to her tent and zipped it up. He hated doing that to her, but he knew better than most nothing worthwhile should be easy to get. Not counting the women he'd charmed, he was slowly earning a little respect around Konoha, or at least lessened the hate and fear he'd grown up seeing. Cleaning up his image and convincing the citizens he wasn't the demon was tough, but having friends that were respected around Konoha vouch for you sure helped. February 13th 10:21 a.m. Water Country Port City. Dressed in gray trimmed white clothes, Naruto walked just behind and to the right of Hisame. Since they boarded the boat in Fire Country 4 days ago, he'd been acting as her new servant, to avoid drawing attention to himself. Most people knew Hisame, so a servant would be ignored, a common strategy by shinobi for infiltration, as he'd been told by Anko, something she'd done frequently on assassination missions to reach her target. In her case, she usually went as a new slave girl and had to endure a few beating and prove her skills and loyalty first. In his right hand was a large shopping bag mostly full of various items. Hidden beneath them, to her annoyance, was Kaiken. They were in the business district along the pier, headed for the docks, since their boat boarded at 10:30, when he suddenly grabbed Hisame's hand to stop her. An instant later, the front wall of the building to his left shattered as a large man flew through it, across the street not 2 feet in front of her and landing about 40 feet out in the ocean. A moment later, another man flew out the hole and landed in the water, followed a second later by a third man, and all three had smashed, bloody faces. Shortly after that, Naruto froze in awe as a very angry woman stepped out into the street. He knew instantly who it had to be. A moment later, a well-dressed man came out, upset about the damage she'd done. Hisame offered to pay for the damages. I'll use my money, do whatever you need to, but that woman has to join us, Naruto said quietly to her. Hisame looked at her. She didn't recognize her, but was eye-pressed. The woman was shorter than her by about 4, but the blonde's chest made her look flat-chested, and judging from what she did to the men, a very powerful former kunoichi, as she wasn't wearing a hitite. Do you know her? Hisame asked quietly. She wasn't yelling at him like a servant because he'd saved her from the first man colliding with her. I know who she is, but have never met her. She's from Konoha and is still a registered kunoichi, though she left about the same time I was born, but whatever you do, don't mention I'm from Konoha or the mission. Get her to join us, and I promise all you. Naruto said quietly. Hisame almost lost her composure. She learned from talking to Naruto that he never broke a promise. Deal. Stay behind me and let me do the talking, Hisame said. I can't believe this is happening to me. I just met him a couple days ago and I'm in love with him. How did he turn my world upside down so easily? I feel like some preteen fangirl, but something about him excites me like no man ever has. Hisame thought. 11:30 a.m. The boat, cabin 10, at sea. After knocking on the door, Naruto waited a few moments. When the door opened, it was the second woman from the bar. 5'9", short black hair, dark eyes, long sleeved, white trimmed black shirt, black pants and kunoichi sandals. She opened the door with a warm smile. Hello, did Hisame-san want something, or do you have a message for us? She asked. Hisame didn't send me, I'm here on my own to see Tsunade. Please let me in, Shizune, this is important, Naruto said calmly but firmly. Shizune softly bit her bottom lip. Tsunade is sleeping, she had a rough day and a lot of sake. It wouldn't be a good idea to wake her. Please trust me when I tell you that even as her apprentice and best friend, it wouldn't be safe even for me to wake her. You can tell me or come back in 5 or 6 hours when we reach the island and she wakes on her own. Naruto sighed softly. He could read Shizune like an open book. She wasn't lying and was genuinely afraid to wake Tsunade. Okay, I'll tell you, may I come in? Shizune nodded, stepped back and let him in, closing the door behind him. When she turned to the blonde boy, she saw him doing hand signs, which surprised her. Then he put a sound seal on the room. You're a shinobi, what village? Shizune asked, calm but cautious. She knew he'd recognized Tsunade outside the bar where they met, and figured he knew she'd told the truth about Tsunade, and anyone that knew about Tsunade also knew never to upset her. Her temper was as well known as her medical skills, and in some circles she'd seen cages be polite to her and watch what they said. Even on good days, Tsunade was a world-class bitch on a hair trigger with a punch that could split a mountain in half. I think you better sit down first. Naruto said, then sat in the chair at the nearby table. He watched her nod, then sit across from him. First, I just want you to know meeting you here was a coincidence. I honestly wasn't looking for you and didn't expect you to be here. As to my village, I'm from Konoha, Naruto said calmly, watching her closely. Shizune's eyes got big and she sucked in her bottom lip a moment. She swallowed nervously. Do you know what will happen if she finds out you're from Konoha? Shizune said nervously. Naruto sighed and nodded. Probably take my head off. Before that happens, I know you're both still registered kunoichi of Konoha and in your own way still loyal to the old man. He's still acting Hokage, by the way. I'm telling you this for that reason only, as an A- rank secret, because that's the rank of the mission I'm on. First, the name Hisame gave you earlier isn't my real name. My real last name is an S-rank secret and repeating it is punishable by death. My full name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Shizune's face went almost blank a moment as she ran the name through her mind, then her eyes got as big as saucers and she gasped loudly, covering her mouth with both hands, extreme shock on her face as she stared at him. Oh dear Kami. == 12:04 p.m. == I'm so sorry. She was alive when we left. If we'd known, she would have taken you with us and raised you herself. Tsunade was very close to your parents. I'm glad you're doing well now, but I know there's much more you aren't telling me that I hope you'll tell me later, but for now I can understand why you didn't tell me everything. I'd like to help, but I can't go against Tsunade. She'll have to be told something if you want her help. Shizune said. How much does she owe everyone, total? Naruto asked. You can't, it's too much. Shizune said. How much? Naruto said. Over 120 million. Shizune said, ashamed. Done. Give me their names and how much they're due. I'll send a message home and couriers will be dispatched immediately with the money. She'll be debt-free inside a week. Naruto said casually, a small smile on his face. Shizune was stunned. You can do that? Yes, but in exchange she owes me, big. Naruto said seriously. Deal, I'll have that list for you before we dock. She'll be mad at me for going behind her back like this, but she'll forgive me. Shizune said. You look pretty tense. I know you're a skilled med nin, but I know this technique I guarantee will have you totally relaxed in an hour. Naruto said. You're a med nin? Shizune said curiously. No, but let's just say I'm an expert on the body, trust me. Naruto said with a smile. Especially the female body, he thought. Shizune thought about it a moment. She knew she could use it, and she was twice his age. He's 10, what could happen? Shizune thought. Okay. What's your technique? A jutsu, pressure points. I know a few pressure points, but I'm basically going to give you a full body massage. You can keep your panties and sports bra on if you want to, but every kunoichi from my classmates to clan heads go and love 'em. Naruto said. While it was true, he'd neglected to mention the clan heads he'd massaged were Sume Inuzuka and Makoto Uchiha. He'd charmed, massaged and slept with all the others' wives as well, but she didn't need to know that yet. This is just a massage, you aren't going to try anything perverted, are you? I remember you mentioned you know Jiraiya. Shizune said. You have my word I won't do anything with you that I don't do with my friends and the clan heads. Do you think the old man would send me on a mission if I'd done something inappropriate? I'd be in a cell or dead if I'd offended a clan head. Naruto said seriously. Shizune smiled and nodded. Okay, but please keep this between us for now. Naruto nodded. That door is to my bedroom, Tsunade's is that door on the right. Release the sound seal and we'll go in my room. I guess as a medic this shouldn't bother me, so I'll do it. Naruto released the seal and followed her into her room. That was too easy, Naruto thought.